Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the WWS Sports Cast. It's been not as long as the last time. Shorter hiatus between episodes, so we're getting better. And today I'm joined by the speech team, but before we get into that, Mr. Brennan?
Big thanks to Gavin Sontag, Richard Liu. Again, can't do the show without these two guys. They're wizards. Just watching them do this, it gives me a little bit of anxiety, all the chords and technology stuff, and they don't like the credit, but they deserve it every episode and more. So thank you, boys.
And then before we get into anything, this episode is sponsored by the Wienerwolf South Media Club and Mr. Scheffler by just giving us the opportunity to do all this fun camera stuff and with the microphones, and as well as the Wienerwolf South 6-man big game tonight at West Chicago, second round of the playoffs, boys basketball. Wear white, show up, 7 o'clock. We need you there. And without further ado, let's get into it. Today I'm joined in Titletown, USA, by the champions of the state, perhaps the world, the Wienerwolf South speech team. Jacob?
Hello, I'm Jacob Perdue. I was the informative state champion this weekend and helped bring home that trophy.
Good afternoon. I'm David Allgood. I was prose reading and also dramatic duet acting state champ, and I'll send it off to my partner.
What's up, guys? My name is Sam Rizzo, and I was also the dramatic duet acting state champion along with David.
As always, I'm your host, Drew Frank, joined by my co-CEO, Jack of all trades, Mr. Brennan.
I believe you're referring to Mr. Scheffler when you say Jack of all trades, but I'm definitely your co-CEO.
All right, so state champions. I know that Jacob got pretty close last year. What'd you do this year just to make yourself a little bit better?
So, part of me thinks I didn't put in enough work last year. I put in a lot more practice, and I was a lot more motivated this year. I looked at, there's this website called SpeechWire, and it lists all your achievements from the year, and I looked at it, and I was like, this is too small. So I really built it up. I practiced. I tried something new. I did HDA with David. We were very successful. So throughout the regular season, I built up that SpeechWire page. It's much larger now. And I think I just put in the work.
What exactly is HDA? Could you go back for a second?
Oh, sorry. Yeah. HDA is humorous duet acting. So that's where you take a humorous skit and you do it with a friend. So me and David did one where we were two janitors at a radio station, and the host died. Oh. So we had to take over, and there were a lot of antics. We had to make up a lot of stuff on the fly. Our characters did, and we did in real life. Most of what we did, I think we practiced it once or twice. That was the magic of it, though. It was like improv every time we did it, but we did well.
Yeah, and I'd say, he's talking about that script in particular. It would be like if you died, and then we had to do the sports cast.
Exactly.
Just on the fly.
Should have done that. Very good.
Yeah.
And then same question goes to you and Sam and David. Last year you were itching at the heel with dramatic duet acting.
Yeah, so last year, I'm sure you know, we got second place in the same event, which was really cool. I mean, I feel like people thought that we'd be really upset about that, but I mean, we were juniors in the state final. Can't complain about that. So, we just kept consistent practicing with our coach, Brian Bohr, who was an alum of Wienerwolf South, amazing coach, fantastic, and he really just spent a lot of time working with us to make sure that we were where we needed to be, and so it worked out for us this year.
Yeah, and I'd say that's also with the dramatic duet acting events or just speech in general. There's a lot of reputation that gets built up. So Jacob was talking about SpeechWire and how you can look at that and see someone's past. Yeah. When Sam and I performed well last year, we came in very highly regarded by a lot of people. So then it kind of flows in your rounds and people expect you to do pretty well. So it can be kind of stressful, but it also allows you to just trust yourself and keep working hard just so you can kind of keep going places.
Do you think it's political with the judges?
Sometimes, yeah. There's certainly, and the speech coaches will talk to you about it all the time. There's some stuff where it should have broke one way or the other, but due to one judge just liking someone else more, it could be someone else on top.
At the end of the day, that it's all subjective to an extent.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because the judge could just not like.
Yeah, you can't make the judge your performance. You can lead a horse to water. You can't make him drink it though.
Say that all the time in class. Yeah. All the time. I say that.
And then David, can you explain your event, prose reading?
Yeah, so prose reading was one that I got this year, and I'd never done it before. It's one of the book events. So there's different types of categories. We've talked about the acting ones, like humorous duet acting and dramatic duet acting. There's limited prep events, which we'll get into probably later. Public address events, which is what Jacob did, oratory and information. Or informative speaking. And then prose and poetry are 2 book events. So prose takes some narrative, some story that is in prose style, and it puts it into a book, and then you get to deliver that with the author's kind of intent and their tone, but you make it personalized. So that's what I was able to do with the story about the Boston Marathon. And it was just a blast to perform whenever I did it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you said you got the event. Is that like, do you choose it, or do you kind of like get fed it by coaches?
So I'll start. The coaches give you the events most of the time. There are times where maybe you're on the bus on the morning of, and say you're single entered, so you just have one event. Like if I was going to a tournament and I was just doing prose, then a coach could say, hey, do you want to do SOS? And that's special occasion speaking. Typically, you have a prepared speech. You could walk in there, give a 4 or 5 minute speech about, why one time. One time I did it where I walked into this tournament right before Thanksgiving break, and I gave 5-minute speeches on why we should wait to celebrate Christmas until after Thanksgiving. And I did get, I believe, a 2 in one of those rounds.
That's
so
a
that
hot button
means,
issue.
yeah, it was a hot button issue. Every source I brought up was a total lie, except for, well, they were all fabricated sources. But you could still. There's a lot of like, people might think speech is pretty serious, but when you can get into the fun aspects of it and the just kind of show and go parts, it can be a lot of fun.
And then when it comes to the prose reading, like, do you like formulate your own? Like, do you pick the book? Pick the passage? Like, how does that work?
So yeah, and I guess I didn't really touch on it. Like the coaches do a lot of work, so they'll kind of figure out what events might work for like certain personalities and certain people. For Sam and I in dramatic duet acting, we've been given each script. We've tried looking before because you can do that, but typically the coaches know where to look and where to find something. So I was given this story that was originally, it was just at an event where the dude was talking about his experience with the Boston Marathon, and then my coach, Brian Bohr, saw that and thought that it would work for me as a prose. So he made it into a script, and then I put it into a book. So I did literally put it into a book, and I have to spend a lot of time gluing and cutting paper just to make sure that it was pristine.
And then when it comes like for a partner thing, like the duet acting dramatic, did you guys pick each other, or how does that work?
No, so it started kind of like it started like the beginning of junior year.
Yeah.
So I have done duet acting before. I did it mainly freshman year, and then sophomore I did it a little bit because it was virtual, it was tough. Pretty much they just came up to us and were like, hey, we think it'd be a really good partnership, and so we did a script about 2 guys in jail the start of junior year, and then eventually for like the February State Series, we did a famous book called Beartown by Frederick Bachman, which was about 2 hockey players in a really small town, and that eventually did really well for us. But no, they just kind of saw our dynamics, and they actually found the story first, and they were like, oh, Sam and David would be really good at this. So
Okay.
that's kind of how that started.
Is it like is it kind of like one of those like old comedy movies, like one of you plays a straight man and one of you like Adam Sandler?
And that's a common dynamic in humorous. In dramatic,
Okay.
not really. In
Okay.
humorous, that's a very common dynamic.
Yeah.
And then Jacob, how did you get into original oratory and informative reading?
So I started with original oratory my freshman year. It's the event I've been doing all 4 years. And it's what you think. It's typical speech. You write a persuasive speech. It's about 8 minutes. And I got into it because, I don't know, I was very fired up, little freshman. I had a lot of opinions. I wanted to share them. And oratory was that outlet. It's been that outlet for the past 4 years, and I love it. This year I talked about venting, and but I found it worked a lot for myself, actually. But one of the parts I love about oratory is you try to engage your audience in both a logical and emotional way. You're trying to connect with them, trying to be relatable. One of the reasons I love this one so this topic this year was because everyone vents. Everyone likes to spew their anger. And I was saying you can still do it. You just have to do it a little better. And that's what I like about oratory.
I was about to ask. You say you got fired up. Like, just as a general speech question, how much does like an emotion play into like everything? Like, you can prepare all you want, but the second you get on stage, it's
Huge part. It is massive.
Passion and emotion too.
Yes, it is huge. Absolutely essential. I think I would not have gotten this state champ if I did not have as much passion for the topic I was talking about. In fact, I think it helped. It set me apart. I knew when I was walking into rounds, I'd watch other people, and I'm like, they don't care as much as I do.
how much time do you prepare like in a week?
Oh, I don't really know because
Yeah.
it could be any time. Could be reciting my speech in the shower. I could be
Always.
Yeah, the hallways. If you had
Hallways.
seen me in the hallways, I might have been talking to myself with a stopwatch running in my pocket to get the time down because they're very strict about time. But there's other times there's actually one line where I made a joke about how Alexa was listening to us, but it was the government, and
Yeah.
I would like cough to the side and say government, but I couldn't get the cough down. So they had seen me in the hallways.
So many times.
Yeah.
I probably said the word
So many
government and coughed like
yeah, I don't know how
50
he
times in a row.
Didn't lose his voice.
It was raw for that night. And then, yeah, it's all about the passion, especially in informative speaking, because it can get really dry. So you have to tell people, I care about this and I want you to care about it.
How many like have you ever had any issues? Any of you like finding passion in like a speech or an acting thing? Like where you just like you don't really care about the topic, but you need to have the passion.
Oh, absolutely.
Fake
And
it till you make it. Is that it?
it's not really a fake it till you like. Yeah, they can
Yeah,
they can see through it.
absolutely see through
And
it.
and at the if we're talking state level, that is what separates.
Yeah.
Because the judging changes. Because throughout the regular season, a lot of the judges are just kind of college kids that are coming back. So like we can come back next year and start judging kids that we maybe competed against this year. But our opinions are different than the judges that they have for state in February. So it's kind of like you're seeing a totally different audience come state. And if you don't have the energy, these judges that can come from college programs that have been head coaches at very prestigious programs can see you, and they've seen probably thousands of speeches at this point in time, and they've seen thousands of kids. They can see who's really passionate and who's really not.
Yeah. So talking about like going down to Peoria, what kind of venue were you in? Basketball court?
So we were in it's called the Peoria Civic Center,
Okay.
which is pretty much so like the performance rooms are big, like huge conference rooms. They would kind of set up like a theater pretty much. And then there's another event called Performance in the Round, which we might talk about a little bit later, which is just like a huge like an airplane hangar, right? And so it's just like this huge space so they could have like a performance. So it was like a big convention center.
Do you think that like the acoustics changing with two environments affects you?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I don't think it affected us, but because we've been going there for 4 years
Yeah.
now. But it's definitely for some people it throws them off a little bit because you're performing in a humongous room versus a classroom like this.
Yeah.
It definitely affects certain
Okay.
people.
Yeah, you begin to notice once you're at that level because it just echoes everything. So if you're not pushing through your diaphragm, it just sounds like people are either straining their voice or they don't sound like they're there. Too quiet.
Yeah. And so what we can do to, as a team, we would practice either in the library or there's a part in lower I where it kind of you can hear the echo more.
about to start.
And that Wednesday, all the English classes can come watch us in the auditorium. We use that as you guys get to see it, but it's also a practice for us to see what our performance feels like, sounds like in a big space with kind of an audience like that.
full bodies.
Because you're going in the room that Sam and I had for dramatic duet acting, it was like 30-foot walls almost, like giant walls, kind of convention center type ballrooms that you might find in a hotel. So that's what we were dealing with.
Okay. Yeah, I was really curious about how like I feel like sometimes like if you're talking like a big public setting and you can hear your voice bouncing back to you, it just like throws your timing off completely. Yeah.
Yeah, so quick follow-up question this is the Sports Cast, so we got to make some sports metaphors and comparisons, right?
Yeah.
So, like, I don't know if you guys remember the baseball player Juan Pierre. Do you recall Juan Pierre? He played for the Cubs, played for the Sox, Marlins, as well, World Series champ. he would get to the ballpark hours early because he was kind of a slap hitter, a bunter, and he would feel the grass at like the lip of the infield because that would depend how he's going to push his bunts. Do you guys have like 3:30 a.m. wake up calls to get into the rooms and test it
Yes.
out on this subject?
I will go ahead and say that there's a lot of kids that are, including you two. You've always been late. I'm never late. We're always there early. I'm just saying, I'm always there early. But no, our team tends to get to the place actually pretty early, and we have a lot of time in the rooms before the rounds just to kind of see how we're gonna sound, which is a really nice coaching tactic because DeMarzo, which we'll talk about later, he's in the state finals committee. So he gets a lot of that like backstage access for that. So yes, we do have a lot of those moments, which is really cool.
Well, nepotism, Mr. DeMarza.
Yeah.
Powerful man.
Brendan, you had DeMarza written down here.
Yeah. So for those that are watching from home, for those that are watching a couple days from now when we post this episode, statistics that were rattled off were quite staggering, quite impressive in our pep rally assembly just before we broke for the weekend. And so Warrenville South is home to 11 speech state championships. And I'm not sure if DeMarzo's responsible for all 11, but a good portion, good fraction of them.
Yeah.
A lot.
So,
Quite a
like,
few.
what is it like? Is it something in the water here in Wheaton, Warrenville? Is it something that, like, a perspective? Is he kind of like the Nick Saban of speech? Is he like the Adolph Rupp, Coach K of like college basketball? Like, what does he do differently that other schools can't replicate?
It's the team dynamic. It is huge. One thing I noticed with every other school is they gotta sometimes just have a horribly toxic team dynamic. When DeMarzo regular, so a lot of teams, like for example, one school did very, very well during the regular season. They won just about every tournament, and then they had one person make it to finals at state. I don't even know where they placed. And the point of that is, during the regular season, we use that as a time to explore, have fun, compete, build our skills, learn something new, meet new people. And DeMarzo really focuses on that time. He has a saying that says, "Get better this week," and it's not do the best this week. It's not beat everyone this week. It's get better, and that can mean something different for everyone. And even though we call it individual events, speech is a huge mental game, as with any sport or activity. It's a huge mental game, but especially in speech, it's important that you can trust your teammates. You know they'll be there to support you, and I just don't see that in other teams sometimes. There's some teams that are literally competing with each other because sometimes you are competing with your teammate, and then when you're in your round and you see another teammate, you're thinking, I have another enemy, not I have another teammate. Every time I see a friend in the round, I'm like, awesome, I have a friend in here. We could win this for our team. And that dynamic is something that I think is pretty unique to South.
Yeah, Nick Saban's notorious for not not letting anyone get above him. Like I saw a story where Clinton Dix, he went back to Coach CB's like a week ago, and on his first day he got chewed out by Nick Saban. And I'm wondering how does DeMarzo just keep everyone in check like that? Because I think it's important that nobody's getting free passes in a team.
I don't think that anyone really gets free passes on the team, but he's also DeMarzo's not really the type to chew someone out, and he certainly wouldn't do it in a Nick Saban type. So if we're talking in terms of sports, this school, this program is a program because of the coaches that we have. And it's not even just DeMarzo. I think you look at the state finals program, you can see all these schools and how many assistant coaches they have, how many head coaches, they have one head coach, but how many assistants are there to the head coach? And we have about 8 assistant coaches, whereas other schools might have 3. So while we have 8 perspectives that can look, we have one, coaches might coach certain events, but then, come February, we have some other coaches, maybe comedic, humorous event coaches, start looking at some of the public address events or some of the dramatic events that we have, and they can inject their own perspective on it. So we have a lot of perspectives and a lot of teammates helping each other out, and that's what makes this program so, so capable of going far.
Yeah. Okay. And then psychological warfare, Brennan?
Yeah, so in the inaugural season of the Wheaton World South Sports Cast, Ryan Frank, DJ Almada, myself, we were fortunate enough to sit down with the then state champions, Natalia and Chavez, doing bigger, better things now in college at the university level. I'm going to ask you guys the same question that I asked them. So, is there an element of psychological warfare in IHSA speech competition? Is there like an element of UFC weigh-in? Don't smile at the opponent, don't break eye contact with them. Like, what do you do to defeat them a little bit psychologically before you defeat them in your particular event?
There is absolutely a mental aspect. No, no, but seriously, no. So, I mean, there is a lot of debate on whether you should be really strict, because there is a lot of people that will just stone face you the whole day. Will just sit in the back, just literally just like that, and it's so just I don't like to do it because it's just bad karma, and our team doesn't really believe in that either. We kind of believe that you should be supportive to everybody and not just us. But I mean, there is I think even the opposite works. If you're really that throws people off sometimes, and that you're not even doing anything wrong. So there's absolutely a psychological game behind this, and even the whole thing's mental anyways. If you screw up, it's about how you recover from that too. So that's a very interesting question.
Do the stone facers throw you off?
No.
Okay.
I'd say for me, we've talked about the energy and that confidence can sometimes throw off other people in your round, because maybe you see someone, especially at the state level, it's I've never seen you do this before, but for my pros, I walked in there, stood in the back, waited a minute for my name to be called. I was just standing back, and I was already walking up before the dude even said and up next, and I was just smooth, the whole thing was just suave, and then you finish, and how you have to exit, so that you have to exit a certain way so that the judges just see you just laid it all out there, and you're confident in what you have, and you just walk right out. And that's what I did. So it can mess with someone oh, this dude's he's really he's just walking back there. He's just really confident. Why is he standing up? Because other people might have that stage fright, might be kind of sweaty palms before they go up there. But I just give them the image that you're just confident and you're here to do business.
Because people do get, not we don't, but people really get thrown off by seeing who's in the round. If you know who they are, they're oh shoot, I got Jacob Purdue in my round. It messes with people, and being really nice and being very confident confuses people and throws them off. How is he so good? But
it's a big deal. I think actually that's something I did going into sectionals. I saw my rounds, and there was one competitor in particular. She was an incredible speaker, and I was I have her in my round, and then David kind of turned around and told me, he's they're scared of you. He's look at what you've done. They're afraid of you, and it's okay to think that. Yeah, it's okay to have pride in yourself, but you shouldn't be disrespectful. But walking into the round knowing I'm good, telling yourself you are awesome, makes a huge difference. You feel great while you're speaking. You know that sometimes people are afraid of you, but the best part about it is I think you should always go for the respect approach when you are watching a competitor.
Stay classy.
Yeah, my reactions are always genuine. I smile, laugh. I'm usually pretty relaxed while I'm sitting. I've made a lot of friends throughout my competitions. I had a lot of friends text me, other competitors who I directly competed with text me and say they were really happy for me. And that was just a testament to the fact that it was fun the whole way. No matter who would have won, I would have been happy that a friend of mine won. But winning yourself feels pretty good too.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess what we're talking about pretty much, and we mentioned the Stay Classy, that's just a moniker of the Wheaton Warrenville South speech program as a whole, to where the whole team, no matter what we're doing, we want to do it with class. And I guess I've credited my sports background playing baseball with some of that psychological warfare and some of that competitiveness, because it just helps you in a different setting. And as opposed to sportsmanship, I guess you could call it speechmanship, to where you just, I know it's
wait to go.
oh brother, he just called it
There
speechmanship.
goes all our respect.
Yeah, I mean, it was,
gonna need a win again.
it is stupid, but it still gets the point across, to where you're just respectful of your opponents, and yet you still want to beat them.
Yeah. That's I believe Ron Burgundy also said stay classy.
Right.
Yeah,
Was that plagiarized or?
That's
We have no idea.
immediately what I thought of.
No comment.
How do you think that like genetically, like does genetics have anything to do with the speech performance? Because I talk from my mouth and I talk fast. I don't think I'd make it in the speech world. I don't.
I mean, if you want to talk about genetics, I mean, David's brother was a state champion too. David's brother was a very, very storied competitor as well. So I think in that aspect, yes. But I mean, also like from what you were talking about, I mean, there's people with vocal patterns, there's people with lisps. I think judges really respect and can really honor like when you try to work around it and really take an effort to make yourself that much better. But I do think genetics does make a difference.
It's not quite like athletics, though.
Yeah.
It is like that's one of the things that was for me. I'm not athletic. That's why I do this. That's why this is my ball game. And one of the most beautiful things about speech is anyone can do it, no matter what, no matter your disability, your intelligence. Like there's really no limit to speech, and you can keep practicing to get yourself better. And yes, there are some people who are going to be naturally great speakers, but in the end, it's really a lot. It is a lot more about practice with any sport, but especially in speech, it's about practice.
Yeah. Okay.
It's wonderful. Yeah, you don't need to be 6'6" and 220 to win a state championship.
You do not.
No, you do not.
Right. Last question I have for you guys. So we talked a lot about preparation, doing your homework, getting coached up by DeMarzo, having a supportive group around you. But how about your outfit planning? How about your suits, your ties? How about any little accents that you have that separate you from the crowd? My last question. Cologne? You guys put a splash of cologne on for that extra swagger?
So I'll just say, I think your speech day, all the competition on Saturdays, I think your day really starts the night before. For me, I take great pride in getting everything ready, and for cologne, I use Burberry Hero, very good scent. Anyways,
mind if I get a whiff?
No, but I think your appearance is a big factor of how you look and how you perform. I mean, not only from a confidence perspective, but just from like a visual perspective. I mean, if you're going up there looking like you just woke up, the judges are gonna know that and not appreciate you just going up there to go up there. So I think for me, setting up my whole suit, make sure it was the perfect tie, my shirt was dressed, my dry clean, my suit was nice. I had 2 different suits I wore. I think making sure all of that was really a key to all of ours. I know Jacob and David for sure success as well.
This is one of my favorite parts of speech, where you get to just walk in a room with a suit, and you really learn to be comfortable in what you're wearing. And typically something that someone might view as like, a collared shirt, that's going to be uncomfortable. Like, you have to learn that you're going to be in that thing for about 8 to 10 to 12 hours in the day. And I've spent like 16 hours in a suit, and it was just like, I got out of it, and it really felt like a normal day to me, and like normal clothes that I might wear. But I would typically match my ties and pocket squares the night before. So I always liked having a nice little pocket square at the end there, just to have a little flair, have a little extra kick. Personally, I didn't do the cologne except for at sectionals. But I'd say it's also, haircuts. That's been one of the things that the coaches hound on everyone on the speech team, to keep the hair out of your face, just so that the judges can.
Well, look no further than the guy at the end of the table.
Yeah.
That's the best set of hair I've seen in a while.
Yeah. So those coaches will get on you if you don't have hair out of your face. So it would typically be a thing for me to get my hair cut in the fall and later on in the winter, just so I have it prim and proper for speech. But I'm gonna equate it to if you look good, you play good. So that's
Prime
really
time, all good.
that's how it carries over.
I've heard that blue is a very trustworthy color.
Yes.
So yeah, if Jacob gets it, if you're doing like original oratory, do you just throw on blue, like play some psychological mind games with the judges?
No, I just like the blue, how it looks. Actually, the last year I had like a gray suit, and just looking at it kind of makes me. I didn't put it. I thought, I'll swap the blue and gray suit, but I didn't touch it this entire year. I was like, I'm not bringing that back. The blue is a wonderful color. It I don't know what it is. I think it's the navy. You just look confident. I wore a blue. One thing about my tie was floral. A lot of people usually just go for a solid color tie, but mine had the patterns that matched, and I think it set me apart. One of the things I was hounded to me in my speaking style was being casual, a little unique in my presentation, like very genuine. And some people, when I first started, it was very like, this is a speech. I'm giving you a speech. I'm being logical. I'm informing you about this. And they're like, hey, this is something cool. You want to feel cool when you're saying it. So I think part of the tie and just, you wanted to look very put together, but I think just having the pattern added a little more genuinity. Wait, that's not a word. Just a casual nature to the outfit.
Yeah, felt more genuine. I get it. That probably is our time. Thank you guys for coming on. Congrats on winning state.
Yeah.
Appreciate you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Yeah.
And one quick shout out for our gymnast, right?
Oh yeah.
Yes.
I actually don't know her personally. You guys?
Haley.
I don't know her personally. I don't know her name.
Yeah, we know her name.
Yeah, I just know her name.
Yeah, shout out Haley Hinckley. Obviously, Mr. Gebhardt for coaching her up.
No, Miss Kerment.
Miss Kerman.
Yeah, Miss Kerment.
Well, Mr. Gebhardt surely had a role to play in that.
Yeah.
Congratulations to her. Thank you guys for coming on. See you guys next time.
You guys appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah,
All right,
thank
go
you.
Tigers.